Success started being measured based on interactive engagements. We started looking at it like how many likes and shares and comments and subscriptions and all these things that we can measure. If you say legally, this is what we do, this is what we don't do, those rules change how your business operates. If you say this is how we communicate with our clients, those little rules change what type of ethical considerations you put into place. And that's what defines the communities you can build and the tribes you can build. You don't have to take a stand on everything. The question becomes, do we really know what we're doing and who we're doing it for? When we look at those marketing insights, are we really leveraging them against the sentiment behind them as well? I want to appeal to your selfish side, the result-driven side, yeah? What I want to do is I want to take you back to a time when marketing was effective and try to thread why ethics is how we get back to that. The reason for this is, at this point, almost everything feels like wallpaper, right? You saw it, didn't see it, cared for it, didn't care for it. It's kind of in the background, it's elevator music. In a way, marketing has kind of become too ubiquitous, too omnipresent, and like too much in too many places. Every time you make a phone call and you hang up, Truecaller is in your face telling you about whatever it is that you don't want to know, selling you something else from a supermarket. And that continuous presence starts, making you wonder, like, is this still good marketing? Like, are we still on track with what we're trying to do? Marketing over time has evolved in like 3 major blocks. First block is kind of from the nascence all the way to like traditional marketing and its peak with above the line, where we're basically just trying to do awareness. Yeah, it just started with, can we be seen as far and as loud and by as many people as possible? Because that was success. Yeah, become an icon. And basically what happened there was, because showing was how we communicated, a lot of brands started taking advantage of that. A lot of people started misrepresenting themselves. You get the era of the before and after ads were not 100% true, right? And around the same time, we switched into that second phase. The second phase is what I like calling intelligent marketing. This is the time when we got the marketing scholars and the smart people coming and telling us, this is what you need to do. This is the time when we started getting data, and us as the marketers started interpreting that data, which is a little bit ridiculous when you think about it, right? It's kind of why in any other profession, the person who does the analysis and the person who does the diagnosis is not the same person, The radiologist doesn't do the x-ray and then tell you what's wrong. They send it to the doctor and then the doctor interprets it, right? In marketing, we were the one-stop shop. We saw the data and decided what that data meant. We saw the insights and decided what those insights meant. And what we decided was that winning looked like bringing the consumer closer. So what happened is that we started scaling our efforts quite wide. We started targeting people very specifically, and we got more direct with our communication. You no longer felt bad, and I think to this day people still don't feel bad about invading someone's private space in a way that may or may not feel good, right? The last one is a social element. The minute brands got active in a space where they could communicate back and forth with the consumer, then we ended up in a space where marketing became social. Right now, if I want to write a message to Safaricom, there's a way for me to do that. And what that meant was that success started being measured based on interactive engagements. We started looking at it like how many likes and shares and comments and subscriptions and all these things that we can measure. How many of those do we get? Because that's what success is for the marketer. Something we've left out of all of this, something that hasn't quite evolved, it's the audience. But more specifically than the audience, I want to say it's how the audience feels about what's happening. Keep in mind, I'm building up to why you need ethics, yeah? Is that audiences don't know whether or not they should trust you. Your first reaction when you see something is to verify it. Is this real? Can this be that good? Even when it blatantly is, right? You'll see an offer and you have to double check. You see prices for products and you don't believe what the prices say. Even though it's a number and a name, you still question the two facts. The way brands responded in the beginning to the lack of trust popping up was, during the awareness era, it was about show and prove, which basically meant that they would supplement what they were doing in the non-tangible formats with a physical format. We are telling you this is delicious, you can taste it in the supermarket. We will have someone giving out samples. We're telling you this is a good car, you can come and test drive it, right? Show and prove was how they did the thing in the beginning. During the intelligence era, it was information. So more and more research, like if you look back, I think somewhere around 95, 96, brands started getting more and more insights being published about what they were doing, because more and more questions were coming up. People were starting to have doubts. Let's meet them where they are. But what do brands do today when people feel their trust being the most violated? Many cases, it's just endorsement or trying to build authority. How do we get this influencer to endorse our brand? Not addressing the person and how they feel, but rather addressing what they think is the problem because of the metric. And the thing to kind of draw from this is that you had increasing distrust over time and a decreasing response to that trust over time. That's the main thread I want you to take from this, is that at some point where we lost track is that we started focusing on the numbers and stopped focusing on the people. The thing we're optimizing our campaigns for is conversion, not connection whatsoever. So the question becomes, do we really know what we're doing and who we're doing it for? When we look at those marketing insights, are we really leveraging them against the sentiment behind them as well? And in any human relationship, when that happens, where you give more than you get, or you're promised more than you receive, or an imbalance is caused, then what happens is the trust is gone. If we were to think about it from an ethical standpoint, we would have some frameworks that would help us build that trust gap, how you build trust in relationships. Set boundaries, which is what I'm willing to do, what you're willing to do, and kind of let's define the space we're willing to work in. Build reliability, being consistent, being there when you say you're going to be there, and knowing that that person will be there for you as well. Accountability, taking ownership of your own mess ups, your own screw ups, but at the same time taking ownership of what you deserve as well, right? Goes both ways. I'm going to jump to the other side, which is the non-judgment, being accepting of your audience. Don't be critical of them, right? Generosity, giving without expecting. And the vault, kind of creating a safe space for them to exist. And then the last one that I put up there is integrity. Integrity, of course, leans on the values that you have and those values being shared between two people. If we were to fix the relationship between the people trying to use marketing and the people they're marketing to, I feel like that relationship, having to be a human relationship, leans back on these same values. And this is kind of where the authenticity thing comes in. Authenticity in its very core sense comes from two big concepts. The first one is what we know as authority, right? It's the same root word, but it's basically the idea of publishing and building credibility, right? Communicating and building trust. That core concept is a big part of authenticity because it is not authentic if you do not believe it's authentic. The second concept that it comes from is what we know as authentic, which is verifiably true. This is real. Levi's, authentic jeans. I want to talk about Nike for a brief second before I walk through this. Very early in their journey, Nike decided that they were going to be for the athlete. And they didn't say it. They did it, like from day one. It mattered more what the athlete said than what the sales were. And if you look at their history, they were selling exactly what they were making for a very long time because the focus was always reinvesting back into building the best thing for this athlete. And if you look at how they did their marketing when they started, that's what they focused on. They focused on telling you what mattered to you. Not you, everybody. You, track star. You, basketball player. You, tennis player. And more so, they endorsed athletes to an extent that people had not seen before. When they made a shoe for Michael Jordan and the NBA said, this shoe is not regulation, you will be fined $5,000 every time you wear it. Nike said, give us a bill for the whole year, and they paid it. So he could wear the shoes they made for him. This is what I mean by genuine endorsement. This is what I mean by like actually standing for something, because they've taken it so far down the pipeline of committing to the athletes that some of their marketing doesn't even bother with trying to sell you a product. It's now about athletes having the right to be who they want to be. It's now about Colin Kaepernick taking a stand and Nike standing there with him. It's about Serena Williams saying that women should be allowed to dress like this, and them saying, we will dress you how you want to dress and pay the fine for it. And this is where you see that engagement is no longer at the bottom of the funnel. It's right at the top. You have to start by, what do you stand for? Let's find something we all care about together. And then, when we care together, let's find other people who care about this. Build that community. And then from there, let's build ways we can connect, because you'll find so many of the activities, I'm using Nike still as an example, are built around the athletes. Their training camps came up because basketball players were like, yo, we need training camps. That's how I got discovered. So they did it. The university programs came up because they started in a university, so they knew what the value of that was. Build around your communities. Don't go looking for a new place to build. Build around your people and build around similar people. And that's it. If you say legally, this is what we do, this is what we don't do, those rules change how your business operates. If you say this is how we communicate with our clients, those little rules change what type of ethical considerations you put into place. And that's what defines the communities you can build and the tribes you can build. You don't have to take a stand on everything if your whole thing is we don't take a stand. But you have to be clear to tell your audience, we don't take a stand. Being quiet about it is disingenuous. If you do something in a meaningful way, one, much lower investment, but two, much higher return. Long run, yes, but long run is what matters. Like, who's not trying to be open tomorrow, business-wise, right? You'd rather have those strategically impactful things all over the place and have more of them than have 100 posts celebrating 100 random holidays. Like, what is World Sandwich Day? I saw that the other day and I'm like, what are we doing? What are we actually celebrating? Why? If you really wanted to celebrate World Sandwich Day, make people sandwiches and then drop it off to them. Connect, don't just create, right? What we lost track of is specifically that, the importance of being authentic. The reason why I call this presentation Building Authenticity as a Strategy is because, when you look at what the strategy is, my team members will hate me for repeating this for the umpteenth time, but ultimately it's a plan of action designed to achieve long-term objectives. And if your plan of action is to figure out what authenticity means for you, then your long-term objectives will be achieved. And the only thing you need to figure out is the design. What does this actually look like, right? And the good thing, the last bit of good news, which is where I'm going to end it, is that we know better. We now have all of the insights, and we have smart people that we can talk to. And this YouTube university where you can go and learn anything about anything.